So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
This week, we're going to make a few announcements first. This week is the QSO radio party that is going on around the world, and there's instructions, I think, on ICOM's page if you'd like to take part in that D-Star party. And I believe we're giving away a D-Star radio. They do every year, so you might want to check into that. Just a couple other things. We've changed our Flash video player out to HTML5 this week. Flash has got some security issues, and it's getting old, and a lot of people are starting to not support Flash. So we've converted our video player to HTML5. Hopefully it'll give you a little bit better picture there, and maybe you won't have as much problems. You probably also noticed we tweaked a little bit on the chat room this week. We're trying to find a balance for people that are less computer literate and people that are very skilled. Some of the problems we run into is when the chat room floats, some people would click off the chat room and they would lose it, and they didn't know how to find a chat room. So, in trying to make things easier for everyone, I embedded the chat room this week. So people won't lose the chat room. Now, for all you guys that like a larger chat room, we put a pop-out button below the chat. You can click on that. You can pop the chat room out. You can make it as large as you want. You can move it around on the screen or move it to a second screen if you want to. So we just try to make it a little simpler interface. All the login and everything's the same. You didn't have to change anything. We'd love for you to join our Facebook group, W5KUB. Just do a search on the Facebook search bar for W5KUB. And we would love to have you join our Facebook group. We've got about 4,000 people now in that group, and it's about our webcast and who our guests are going to be, when we're going live, what special events we're doing, and so forth. So that's something we'd like to ask everybody to do is join that. Next week, on our show next week, we got Riley Hollingsworth, K4 ZDH. Riley is going to be back with us, hopefully every other week. Riley is the former FCC special counsel and enforcer of the rules, and we've set up a special email address. If you have questions for Riley, send them in to askriley@w5kub.com, and Riley will be answering your questions next week, and he'll even be able to answer any questions that might come in by the chat room, or also we'll do some telephone calls. I just want to say one thing about our shortwave. This week we're not running the shortwave simulcast. We started this about 5 months ago on shortwave to see how it would work with a shortwave audience and with our video audience. So it's kind of an experiment, and Ted and I went into that arrangement trying to see how we could make both of these mediums work. One of the things that I want to do is make the video more visual, and you're going to see that tonight with our guest, and you're going to be seeing a lot of circuit boards and diagrams and parts, and it's very hard to convey that over and keep the interest, I think, of shortwave listeners. So that's an issue that we've always been wondering about, but so tonight we're not going to have the shortwave on tonight. We're probably going to terminate that portion of our webcast. But I would like to thank Ted Randall, WB8PUM, Ted and his son, David, KG4, WXW, and they have been great to help out. They've been over backwards. They have put us on shortwave now for 5 months and have really tried to help us promote the show and get the word out. So I'm sure we reached a lot of people on shortwave. It does not appear that we increased the number of people on the video side where people would come over and see what we're talking about. So we've got to try to figure out why that didn't happen. But anyway, you're going to see a lot of changes in the show over the next few weeks with a lot of regular segments. We've added Joe Eisenberg, K0NEB, to our show. He's going to be a regular on here. Hopefully Joe will be with us every other week. And we're going to talk about kits tonight. And he will also have additional shows on kits. There are so many kits now that are coming in from China. And I'm going to order some of these. I guarantee you, I've already seen them. They are cool kits. So we're going to be talking about that. We've also Emmett Hohensee, W0QH. He's the chief engineer for Radio Waves. Emmett is going to have a regular segment on antennas, and we're going to feature and talk about every 2 weeks certain type antennas and how they perform and what's best for what. And also Emmett will be available to answer any questions that may come in to him. So Emmett's going to be the antenna expert. Next week, Emmett will be talking about stealth antennas. He's going to talk about shortwave antennas, stealth antennas, limited space antennas, and homeowner association restrictions. So that should be a good show right there. So let's get into our first guest here, Joe, K0NEB. Welcome aboard, Joe, and we're really excited. Oh, and let me say this. Let me put Joe on here. Let me get Joe on here. Maybe I can do a split screen. There we go. Wave, Joe.
There we go.
There you go. Hey, I just wanted to say to everybody out there that not only is Joe going to be bringing the neat kit building to us every couple weeks, we'll have a portion of kit building, but he's also going to be our, how do I say this? We've got to come up with a good title for Joe. He's going to be our roving Hamfest delegate, I guess. And Joe attends so many Hamfest during the year. I can't believe it. You would not find anyone, I think, that goes more Hamfest than Joe. And let me tell you, Joe takes the pictures. So when we have those special Hamfests like Hamcom or Orlando or anything like that, Joe is going to have a lot of pictures and he's going to bring stories about the Hamfest. So welcome, Joe, and how you doing tonight?
Well, I'm doing good, Tom. And what I'll try and do when I go to a Hamfest is take pictures, big Hamfest, little Hamfest, local, regional. Of course, you'll see a lot from Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, the ones that are a reasonably close drive for me. And we'll talk about some of the things you see there and what to look for and what to avoid at a Hamfest. And we'll show some pictures of people just having a great time like usual at a Hamfest, and talk about some of the fun ones to go to that are worth the trip. And there are some out there that are, I haven't been to yet. In fact, next year in February, I'm going to one in Yuma, Arizona. And when they asked me to come down there, I thought, well, Yuma, Arizona, it's pretty darn hot there, isn't it? Oh, yeah, it's 112. And I said, well, when is the Hamfest? And they said, it's in February. And I said, oh, I'll bet it's a lot nicer. They said it's in the 70s and 80s. Well, coming from Nebraska, where that time of year we could have snow on the ground and blizzards, I would say that's going to be a fun trip.
All right. Well, I tell you, I've got a lot of friends that go to the Yuma Hamfest. They go all the way from Dayton and other places. They drive, and I'll just give them a plug. It's the IOOK. That's the International Order of the Crazies. If anybody wants to join that group, just look up IOOK.org, and you can be a vice president. If you ever want to be a vice president, everybody in the club is a vice president. They have one president, but everybody else are vice president. So
And I've seen their tent next to yours.
Yeah, when we were outside, they used to be right next to us. They always try to get us to join, and I wouldn't ever take that step. But they're going to be there in Yuma. You'll see them all in their blue Vice President IWK shirts. So be sure and say hello to them. So hey Joe. So hey, you're in Nebraska, man. You got anything? Show us a Nebraska picture.
Okay, this is one that I took. I don't know if I have the sharing turned on. Maybe I don't. So let me see here. We'll get that fixed. And here we go. And how's that? Do you see?
Whoa. Nice picture.
This picture I took in the East Stadium of the University of Nebraska. This was taken during the football game, Nebraska versus South Alabama, on Saturday night. And I thought I'd get a beautiful sunset shot with the golden colors and the dark blues and stuff in the sky, and the beautiful lit up stadium with 90,000 screaming Husker fans in there. So I when I go to a football game, I'm a lot of times after more artistic photos than sports photos, and I have a lot of fun. I'll chase down a mascot or two and get some fun shots and people in the crowd and so forth. And I've won many awards for these. In fact, one of my shots is on the official poster this year. It's put out by an Omaha printing company, and there are thousands of these posters all over the state. I don't have an image of it right here that I can pull up, but the posters were distributed all over the Omaha and Lincoln areas. And I've been asked to a couple of the places that distribute those to sign my name on these posters because they were kind of surprised that I live in Lincoln, work in Omaha, and all these big corporations got hundreds and thousands of these posters. So they're all in these people's cubicles. So I got to take the tour and sign lots of photos.
Well, I tell you, that's great, and your photography is just outstanding. I love looking at all your pictures. Hey, there's one more crazy thing about you though that I found out, and you could have almost been, I won't say famous, but you know, Joe, tell me, didn't your grandmother did she date somebody famous?
Well, it was your grandmother. And,
your mother. Oh man.
Okay, let's see if you can see me again.
Well,
here we go. Yep, you got my screen. My mother.
Okay, I'm not getting your picture's not up here.
Okay. I probably
there you go. Tell me, your mother dated Johnny Carson?
Yeah, in college. She went out with him a couple times, and what was funny was in the late 80s and early 90s and so forth, my parents used to spend the winter in Palm Springs, California, which is a couple hours out of LA. And I would go out there and spend a week or two during the winter. And, of course, that's the best time to do that. And one day I went into L.A. and I had gotten tickets, and I went to the Carson show, and they asked for he asks almost all the time if there's anybody from Nebraska. And I raised my hand, and then he came during the next break and during the commercial and brought the mic over to me so that the audience could hear me. Of course, it's not going out over the air. And I said, by the way, I'm from Lincoln, but originally from Omaha, and my mother dated you in college. And he looked at me, and he just kind of paused, and he held the mic up to me and says, okay, tell me her last name, her maiden last name. And I told him, and he stood back a second, and he says, your mother is Flo? And I said, yeah, her name's Florence. Yes, Flo. And he says, well, where is she now? I said, Palm Springs. And so he signed a picture for me to take back, which was kind of fun.
Well, look, let me tell you something, man. You could have been Joe Carson. What do you think about that?
No,
you could have been Joe Carson.
No, and I probably don't have the same sense of humor.
Oh,
but,
man.
It was always fun watching him on TV, knowing that voice sounds like somebody from where I am. And so it has the same accent we do.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some kits. Listen, what do you got to show us tonight?
Well, I have lots of kits. And let me hold this one up first. And in reality, I should probably just go back to the screen sharing here. I'm gonna send this back to that, and we'll start here. and we're going to look at this one. This one should be pretty clear on there now, I'm hoping. This is actually a pretty small board. It's only about 2 inches square on each side, but I did an ultra high resolution photo of this for the magazine. This is the Chinese Pixie 2 kit. It is a transceiver. Believe it or not, it's a CW transceiver, and the little pot on the board is used to vary the frequency about 3 or 4 kilohertz. The IC on the board is the audio amplifier. You plug in a set of earbuds or an earphone. You plug in a key and an antenna and your 12-volt power, anywhere from 9 to 12-volt power supply into the power jack. And I have to give a caution. Using any kind of AC-based power supply doesn't seem to work well with this, so I just use a 12-volt gel cell battery or a 9-volt transistor battery. And then the crystal up near the top, the crystal up here, I put 2 little pins in there, machine pins, so that you can change the crystal. So I can go anywhere in the 40-meter band, and it seems to work just fine. Now you can use this on different bands. There's a table of capacitors that you change, and one of the inductors you change. There's no coils to wind on this. There's no toroids to wind. It's pretty simple. Most of the resistors are hairpin designed, so they stand up straight, so it doesn't take up as much room. But like I said, it's a tiny little kit. The power jack and the BNC jack are removable, and you can take those off, and there's separate connections underneath them so that you can wire directly to them, so that you could build this thing like into an Altoids tin, because with all the things already mounted on the board, it's pretty difficult to put it in a case. But it's a lot easier if you have the 2 big parts on the right not there, and instead mounted on your case, and then you just wire them to the board. And there are holes provided for that. So like you could run a little piece of RG174 or something between that BNC and the board, and a couple of wires, of course, for the power jack, or a 9-volt battery tab, or whatever you want to power it with.
Yeah. Hey, Joe, let me say one thing about that. I built that same one, and I agree with you. If you put one of those AC power packs on there, it picks up hum like crazy. So you're absolutely right. It has to be filtered really well, or like you say, a battery on there.
Now here's the other thing. You look here at the pot that's in the middle. It says 503 on it. It's a 50K pot, and that's your VFO. Well, it looks kind of dumb. You have to stick a screwdriver in there to make it work. So if you have a 50K pot, just don't put the pot in and run 3 wires from that position on the board to a regular pot on the front panel. Now you have a VFO knob. So
how far swing can you get with that? You probably can't go very far because you are using a crystal.
Yeah, it's about 3 or 4 kilohertz, surprisingly. Most of the previous VXO designs that just pull a crystal do maybe 1 or 2 kilohertz, but they're using a different diode on there. They get about 3 or so, 3 or 4. And it seems to be relatively stable when you vary it.
All right, let me also just say one thing about this transceiver, Joe, before you go to the next part.
This is the circuit board before all the parts are on it.
Yeah, hey, let me just make one quick announcement about this specific transceiver. Our friend Glenn Popel, who wrote the book Arduino for Ham Radio, took this similar Chinese radio like this, and he used Arduino. He put an Arduino VFO on it. He built packet in it, all that. We're going to be showing that in November, so I'm sure you'll be interested in it. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay. Very good. Well, I tell you, don't be intimidated by this kit, even though it looks like it's pretty small and tightly packed. It's actually very easy to put this one together, and I would recommend this for an early or first-time kit builder. I think it would be a real good one. I just switched it back to what it looks like with everything on it, and not difficult at all. You're going to spend, especially a first-time builder might spend over an hour or so putting all the parts on, but it's relatively easy to put together. It is a double-sided plated through board, so the solder flows pretty easily. Just make sure you use the right solder.
All right.
Now, let's see here. If we could go to the camera, I'm going to do a kind of a live demo here. And I don't know if can you switch me or not?
Let me see if I can go. Let me see if I can switch you. I probably can, but you know what? Let's see. Let me see if I can go full screen with you. Yeah, I can do it. I'll have to do some, I'll do some editing here real quick. You go ahead and start talking. I'll edit this.
Okay. But I do see that I'm on. Looks like I am anyways. It's got the green LED on. What you're looking at, it looks like an LED, and there's a 9-volt battery. I'm holding my hand and a crystal sticking out of there. This is a crystal tester, and quite often you'll get crystals with the numbers rubbed off or something, or you might want to see which one's closer to the frequency you want. In this device, if the green light is on, that means the crystal is oscillating, and it's a pretty nifty little kit. Now, I have a handheld here. Of course, this FT1DR covers all the bands, and you can tell when I pull it away, you hear more noise. Bring it close by, and it quiets the receiver. So you can tell that it is oscillating, and it is on the frequency as advertised. This particular one is on 7372, and I'm going to switch over to the photo. Let's see if you can switch with me. Can you switch me back to my share?
I will try. Okay.
And this is what the board looks like. Hopefully you've got it up.
Yes.
Because I can't see you right now.
Yeah, it's up.
But what you're looking at, you can see the battery connections on the top. The crystal connects on the left, and you have the 2 transistors. It's basically a Colpitts oscillator, and you have a transistor that turns on when the thing is oscillating and lights up the LED, lets you know it's working. The LED is pretty bright. I think I'm going to adjust the resistor value a bit to get the LED a little more civilized brightness. It gets pretty bright, but if you're messing with crystals a lot and you want to check them, even old crystals and so forth, to see if they're any good, see if they work, this is what you want to use. And this kit sells for $7, and you get that at vakits.com. In fact, you can see that printed on the right side of the circuit board right there. It's an interesting kit because if you look, you will see surface mount marks on the board. And that's because this kit is designed to be built with either surface mount or through-hole parts on the same board. It's a very cleverly laid out circuit board. If you were to look underneath the capacitors, you'd see the 2 squares are attached to the 2 holes, and that would be where you would put the surface mount parts. So you can order the kit in either surface mount or through hole. Of course, most builders prefer the through hole because it's easier to work with. But if you want to learn surface mount, here's a kit that only has about a dozen parts and pretty easy to put together, and it would be a good learning experience for surface mount construction. Pretty nifty little kit. Let me see here now. You can switch me back if you can, so you can see my ugly face. And there we go. Gotcha. And the crystal tester and the other kits that they put out, this one's one of their power supplies, and they package them in these nice little blister packs. And I know it takes the camera a bit of time to focus. There we go. This is a variable voltage power supply. Each one of these kits comes with their business card, and it has the resistor color code on the card. I found that kind of an interesting touch, and makes it pretty nice for a first-time kit builder. But I always tell first-time builders, not only do you check the color code and figure out what you think that resistor is, then you take your ohm meter and you measure it just to make sure that it's within tolerance and what it is. And that's a big hint to success, is to double check each part to make sure it's good and where it goes. So to do that, here's another kit, and I think I've shown this one before. This says it's a transistor tester, and you can buy the thing for about $25 or $30 pre-built in a box like this. But of course, we're kit builders, but this is the pre-built version, and this is the only thing that my boss would let me get away with at work. It works like the other one.
I like it.
But you can buy it pre-made like this, and it's got 3 little test leads and stuff. And we use that because we work on metal plate embossing machines also, and there's a lot of component level repairs that we do. So this is the version that we can build ourselves for $12. That's all this thing sells for, is $12. And all you do is you clip the leads to the part. It can be in any order. You can clip leads 1 and 3, 2 and 1, whatever, if it's a 2-leaded part, and it will tell you which leads the part is on and what the part is and what its gain or value is and so forth. Now on the front, you're going to see on this one, let's see if I can get close enough and see if the camera will focus. There we go. You can see these silver pads. And that's so that you can take a toothpick and hold down a surface mount part on it, and it will test that as well. And it has the different spacings of dual pad, and it has the different spacings of 3-pad, so that you can touch a 3-leaded or 2-leaded surface mount part to this board and still test it. Fantastic little kit. And $12. Now, like I said, you don't have to tell it what kind of part it is. It will tell you if it's in fact, let me get some examples here. A transistor, a diode, here's an LED, here's a capacitor. I don't know if that shows up real well. There's a little capacitor. We got resistors. We got older style transistor here. Yeah, I know it doesn't focus real well. But there's a transistor, and you can poke the leads on there or clip them onto it, and away it goes. And it tells you what the part is, which lead is the collector, the base, the emitter, and which of the 3 wires that collector, base, and emitter is. It knows if it's a MOSFET, so it says drain, gate, and source.
So that's really exciting. The fact that you don't even have to know ahead of time what the base, collector, emitter is. You just hook 3 wires up to the 3 leads, and it's going to identify that and tell you.
Let me put up a high-res photo of this. You can switch back to my share, and we'll show you an example here. Let me know when you have it up.
You're up.
Okay, if you can see my mouse, this button here is what turns it on. Of course, it's a 9-volt battery. I have 3 clip leads to the 3 terminals on it. The surface mount pads are kind of behind those. It's a very simple kit to put together, but you got to be careful, especially for a first-time builder, because you have a whole row of contacts on the top of this thing that are pretty close together, so you don't want to have any blobs shorting out between them. It uses precision resistors because it is making precision measurements, and so they have an extra color stripe, and sometimes it's difficult to read the color stripe correctly. So once again, I suggest that you use a volt ohm meter and measure the resistance of the resistor, make sure it's close to what it belongs, and then put it in place where it belongs, and you'll have a working tester. Now, we have some kits that I like to call the miracle kit. And that's the little brother to that, but it's actually the big brother to it. And we'll see if we can switch to the camera briefly, and I'll hold it up so you get a relative size of this thing. I'm going to look to see. Okay, there we go. This one, unfortunately, took a tumble earlier today. I left it on my table, and one of the cats knocked it off and put a mark in the display, so I'm going to have to replace the display on this one. These sell for about $18, which is just incredible for what it does. I sound like the guy from the TV commercials, the infomercials that says it slices, it dices, and so on. But it's a darn miracle what this thing does. Excuse me. I'm going to see if I can grab a part here. But I do ask for your indulgence on the display because, like I said, one of the cats decided that he wanted to play with it more than me. So the socket on the bottom of this thing is called a ZIF socket, a zero insertion force socket. It used to be used for ICs. And in this case, I mounted that metal can transistor on it. And all we do is, of course, we hook up the battery to it. Let me do that. And the knob on it is actually a switch and a function selector. And we'll kind of go like this. And I don't know if the display is going to show up real well on the video. It's probably a little too bright. But what it does is it puts up the schematic symbol and which pins are what. In fact, I have a high-res photo of this as well. But it doesn't do just that, of course, like the other one. It measures capacitors, inductors, diodes, thyristors, triacs, MOSFETs, N-gate and P-gate MOSFETs. It discriminates between those and lets you know what it is. And once again, if it's the emitter-based collectors in pins 1, 2, and 3, or which pins they're in, or the drain gate source, or the multi-gate ones, drain gate 1, gate 2, and so forth. It will do all that. It's pretty amazing. But this one, there are 2 holes at the top of the board, and I think I'm going to switch to the high-res photo version, Tom.
Okay.
First off, we're going to show the circuit board. See if you got it switched to the share. This is the board before the IC, the processor is put in place, and before the LCD display is mounted in place. As you can see, it's just basically transistors, resistors, capacitors. It's pretty simple, nothing real fancy, pretty easy to put together and well marked. All the values of the parts are marked at the parts location. But you'll notice there are 2 terminals here at the top. It says ground and FN. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Well, it turns out one of the menu items on this thing is it's a frequency counter. Now, I don't know how high a frequency it counts up. I don't think it goes to VHF, UHF, but it may go to HF. I have not tried it yet. But you'll have to hook a little piece of coax and a connector and a probe or an antenna and see what it does. I have not tried that function yet on this, but it has a frequency counter. It also has a 10-bit PWM, which is pulse width modulation generator, and it puts that output through a couple of the pins on the socket. Where you would normally put parts, you'd put a couple of leads in there, and so it actually has a frequency generator. It's a square wave generator. Now on the bottom of the board, you'll see it says TP1, TP2, and TP3. I don't know if it's clear enough for you to see that on the video.
I'm gonna have to move. I'm gonna have to move the picture down just a little. It's larger than what I can show, so let me move it.
Okay.
There we go, and I will.
Okay, and
move it. There you go.
And those are, once again, the same 3 leads that you saw in the other kit. So if you don't want to put the part in the holder, you can also bring out 3 clip leads from there. It does not come with those, but like you saw in my other one, I took some of those bundled clip leads. You get like 10 for $1 or whatever, and I just snipped off one end, and I tinned the lead and put it on the board, and away it goes. So you can have the ability to bring your test probes out. Same thing on the right. You'll see once again it says SMD test, and it has 3 pads marked 1, 2, and 3, and those are connected as well. You take a toothpick, hold the surface mount part down on those pads, push the button, and it will tell you the value of the surface mount part. So they've added a lot more functions to it, slices, dices, and blends, and so forth. And guess what? It's only $18. Now, they have a case for it that's like $6, so that would bring the cost up to about $24. But,
Joe, I got a question. I got a question for you there. I don't know if you mentioned it or not. Is that a switch or a pot to the left of the socket there?
That is when you push it in, that's the switch that turns it on or selects when you're in the menu function. And when you rotate it, it's a rotary encoder that rotates through the menus. So you can rotate to different menu items, but the word transistor comes up, and that's actually the component tester. They still call it transistor tester because that's just one of the things it tests. It has a shutoff. It has a calibration mode where you can put certain test parts that came with it in there, and it calibrates itself. It's pretty interesting, and it's menu driven through this rotary encoder. So it's a knob that you push down to turn it on, or push down to select the menu item, and you rotate it to go through the menu.
Okay, they're asking on the chat room, where can I get this kit?
Okay, and banggood.com. I think I sent Jill or somebody a list of links for this, and let me put this picture up. This is what it looks like testing a transistor, and you can see it says BJT. That's bijunction transistor. It's an NPN. It tells us the B, the beta, which is the gain, and the forward voltage, 716 millivolts. And you can see the schematic symbol. It says collector, base, emitter, and it shows 3, 2, and 1. So it shows you which pins are what. So you don't have to look up the data sheet or anything on that part. It tells you what it is right there. I find this to be one of the most amazing little things for $18, and well worth the hour or so that you spend putting this kit together, because it's very useful. But I would definitely suggest the protective case, because like I said, one of the cats, of course they won't admit to it, but one of the cats knocked it off.
These are some really cool kits. I know there's a couple I'm going to order when I get off of here.
Yeah, so hopefully you'll get the links for these. I'm going to put up another picture here. This is a still photo, if you've still got me up.
Yep.
This is the digital oscilloscope kit. Now, I don't know if you can see my mouse when it moves on this. I'm not sure how well the screen thing works. Yeah. But this is what the board looks like before you put the color screen display on it. And you'll notice that there are a lot of surface mount parts on here. In fact, I think the parts count is like 19 different surface mount parts. And they are not mounted on this version of the kit. This square one here, right here in the right side of the center line, the square flat pack is pre-installed in all versions of this. The good news is, if you don't want to do the surface mount parts, it's only $23 instead of $20, and you get it with all the surface mount parts already preloaded on the thing, and all you have to do is all the through-hole parts. So you can knock off at least an hour or so of building time and still have the wonderful experience of building this kit. And this is a color digital oscilloscope. And I've shown it briefly on your show before, but I'm going to show a much higher resolution shot. See if this comes up pretty good. This is a scope using its internal signal generator, which is not real clean. It's got little spikes and stuff on it. But once again, we're talking about a $23 color oscilloscope. And I call it like a modern technical miracle that we can get something that cheap. And the question always comes, okay, if you order these darn things from China, I'll bet it costs more in shipping than it does to get the kit. And in reality, it's free. I was really surprised when I ordered through that web page. That includes postage from China. Even if you buy a $4 Pixie kit, it's still free mail from China. It might take a week or two to get it, but it does get here. This is a picture of it running with the internal square wave generator. The guys from the shortwave program said they're going to buy one of these and mount it in a box and use it to monitor their audio output waveform to see if they're clipping and so forth, which is an excellent idea, and they'll have built it themselves. And you can see all the different settings on it. It's got a coupling settings, the sensitivity 1 volt, 0.1 volt, 10 millivolts. It has the coarse waveform height. It has another menuing system here on the right. You can go through several menus to set it up for different kinds of things. It's a pretty elaborate darn kit. And it has a micro USB on the bottom. And I asked, what was that for? And I found out that that is for future software upgrades for this thing. You'll be able to upload new firmware into it, and it will eventually freeze pictures and put them out as like JPEGs or bitmaps to your computer, so you'll be able to save the images. Now that's quite a deal for a $23 scope. But as they like to say on the infomercials, that's not all, because if you look at this, it has a mode that will freeze the waveform. It shows you the frequency. In this case, it's a 1 kilohertz square wave. The cycle period, which is basically 1 millisecond. The pulse width, which is basically half a millisecond. The duty cycle, the maximum voltage, the minimum voltage, the average voltage, the peak-to-peak voltage, and the RMS. And those are things that you would think that you would see on a Tektronix scope or something. Once again, it's a $23 oscilloscope. Now, the probes it comes with, you'll see, is just a BNC connector, a short cable, and 2 clip leads. That is probably not too adequate. So I went to AC/DC Electronics at Huntsville, and I picked up for about $10 a cheap oscilloscope probe, and got that, and that's what I actually use with this kit. Let's see now. All right, so we're done with the scopes. A few things when you're building kits. I like these plastic containers. You can get these for tackle boxes, jewelry, things like that at your hobby stores, craft stores, hardware stores. You name it, you can find these things. This one has a capacitor assortment, and that's another one of the things I like to preach a lot, is to have a collection of standardized parts, an assortment, so you have a few of each common value, because if something breaks or something's missing in your kit, you always have spare parts instead of having to mail in and wait 2 weeks for them to send you a 10K resistor. So it's always good to have standardized parts, but you can also use a container like this to keep your parts safe. Like you saw with my bad display earlier, and that's caused by cats. Okay, cats, dogs, kids, they can get in the way, and you can have a problem. So I use this kind of a thing so that while I'm working on the kit, I'll take out the parts for the assembly I'm doing and put them on my cookie sheet, which keeps them from going away, and then I close the lid and snap it shut so that if the cat jumps up on the table and decides to knock it off, oh, he just knocked it off the table, but all the parts are still in there. So you can see standardized parts are a good thing to have on hand, because sometimes on a kit you'll decide, or you'll find out, oh, well, if you change those 30 picofarad capacitors to 50 picofarads, it gives you a better frequency swing, or it makes it more stable, and people discover things about these real simple kits, and so you have the parts on hand to make those changes and make your kit better, or like I said, in case it's missing a part, or you might try different values and so forth. So we'll close that, and we'll see if I can get you to put my ugly face back on, and we'll show you that these kits from China, they just come in a little bag. There's a circuit board and the parts, and there's a diagram in there, but don't expect a lot of step-by-step instructions. Now, the scope actually had some pretty good instructions in it, and the instructions just did not say anything about the surface mount, and the reason is that they do sell a version of it without the surface mount parts needed to be installed. In other words, they're already pre-installed. So this is the $4 Pixie kit, and this is fun because it even comes with a 50 ohm resistor, 1 watt resistor that you can put across the output. And what we've done before in different group kit builds that I've done is we've built this kit, and everybody brought their little straight key and their headset and their little 9-volt battery, and then we put the dummy load across the output, so we know it's always getting 50 ohms, and then we ran clip leads with long wires just dropped down to the floor off the back of their table. And so now you have a bunch of people sitting in a room with $4 kits, and they're making contacts back and forth on 40 meters with a dummy load and a little piece of wire radiating the signal. So that's a lot of fun. This one here, this is a clock. This is a digital clock kit. This is another Chinese kit, and once again, under $4. And if you buy more than one, you can get them as cheap as about $3. which also makes this an ideal one. I don't see anybody taking more than about an hour to put that together, and of course an experience builder in 15, 20 minutes. And so let me see if I can find that clock already put together.
Yeah. Hey, Joe, one of the things we were going to do, but after each thing you demoed there, we were going to ask for questions, and we forgot to do that. So let me let me ask people, if you got any questions, shoot them in here now, and we'll try to ask your questions after each product. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay. Well, anyways, this is a cheap clock kit, and I have my scope running. Let me see. I can put up the scope again. This is actually running right now.
I see some noise. I see a little noise on that signal there.
Oh yeah. There's some noise. It's not super clean on its internal generator. Once again, it slices, it dices, but it has its drawbacks too. But when I've hooked it, of course, to outside waveforms, there's no issue at all, and works quite well.
One of the questions that just came in: do any of these companies have catalogs that show their kits?
Well, there's no printed catalogs out there. Unfortunately, there's no printed catalogs with these, except for like Ramsey Kits sometimes puts out a printed catalog. One of the ways that the kit makers use to make a kit more affordable is they don't publish a really big manual. Sometimes it'll have just a little diagram in the thing, and there might be a web page that you can go and download more detailed instructions. And that way, when they change the kit a little bit, what happens is that they can just change that Word doc file or PDF file so that you're always downloading the most current instructions. So a lot of the kits, like from qrpkits.com, have no manual with them at all, just a URL on a little slip of paper in the box, and it says to download the most recent kit manual, or it might say this is version so-and-so, so download manual version so-and-so, and that's your kit. And a lot of guys will use even their cell phones, or like this, they'll use a tablet, and I tell people not to use a laptop on their bench, because what happens when you build a kit is when you snip the wires, the little leads go flying all over the place, and if they get in the keyboard and short something out, your laptop is done. But a tablet just has that glass front on it, so anything that hits the screen is just going to glance off. So not a problem.
Hey, okay, here's a question, Joe. Out of all these kits that you've been building, do you have a favorite kit?
Well, of the most recent ones, I would say this one, the little component tester, because it does so much.
Oh yeah, I love that one.
And it helps me. It's a kit that helps me build other kits. And so, what's not to like about something for $18 that tells you what a part is and what it does, and if it's good, and which leads are which, so you don't have to look up anything online, and tells you if the part is good and what it is. So I would say that's probably my favorite, because of how much it does for how low of a cost. Because, like I said, it's not often that there's a really good kit that helps you build other kits, and that one would be one of them. That would definitely be one of them. There are kits out there to make a multimeter, which is fine. It's good experience. I would never discourage anybody from it, but also you can walk into Harbor Freight and get them for $3 or get them free with a coupon. So a meter kit is not as popular anymore as it used to be, because it used to be a way to save some money.
Yeah, Joe, James, KK4 RWF asked if there are any ham bloggers who review various kits and list the availability. Now, you kind of do that because you're the editor of the CQ magazine, Kit Building.
Every month in CQ magazine, there's usually at least one or two kits that I've built in that month that I write about. So if you look at past issues of CQ going all the way back to November of 2009, you will see literally hundreds of different kits that I've reviewed, and I always give the links of where it can be purchased and or whether or not it's still available. Now, there are some articles, like I did one about a 30-year-old Heath kit signal generator that I put together. I bought it at an estate sale, and nobody seemed to want it. Oh, it's just an old kit. And then I looked, and the darn box had never been opened. And unbuilt Heath kits are worth quite a bit. And somebody said, well, you're going to destroy the value by building it. I said, no, I'm actually going to add to its value, because I'm going to write about the experience and what is different between building kits back then and what they look like today. And I did a wonderful article about it, and got a lot of good feedback from it. The Chinese thing is really a phenomenon over the last year or so, that there's been so many kits and so readily available. And, like here's a desk clock. And it's got a battery holder for backup battery and so forth, and makes a nice clock. This is another clock kit. I haven't put this one together yet. And I'm going to it's still in the bag, but you can see there's a whole bunch of little holes all the way around it. That's because for each of the 60 clock positions, there's going to be an LED there, with different colors being on the 5 positions, like 5, 10, 15, 20,
cool.
and so forth. And when it goes, you'll see it move around like that. And this particular one has a Bluetooth module in it, and there's a phone app that you can download, and I'll be able to control it with the Bluetooth app and the phone and synchronize it to the cell carrier's clock, which I think, wow, that's pretty slick. I never would have thought of that. And it also has a backup battery and so forth. And there's a plastic case that it shines through, and kind of makes a sandwich. It's an acrylic kind of a 2-cover thing, one on the front, one on the back, and it's kind of slick. It's going to take a long time to build it, because it's got a lot of surface mount parts and at least 60 LEDs that I'm going to have to solder in there, plus all the other parts in the controller.
Man, that's a lot of parts, Joe. 60 LED, but that thing is going to look so pretty when you get finished, especially with the light markers every five minutes. There'll be yellow LEDs and then red LEDs on the 5s, and so you'll see the lights moving in a circle around it, and then there'll be the seconds will move around like that, and then the digital display in the middle will be the time, and like I said, it'll have the seconds with the LEDs moving around a circle around the digital display, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what it looks like when it boots up. Now, once you build some of these, we're going to see them after you've built them, right?
Oh yeah.
We're going to see if they really work when you get through with them.
I'll put them on here. Now, here's kind of a rule of thumb. I do get tools and kits sometimes sent to me to evaluate, and our new equipment guy at the magazine, he used to get new radios and stuff sent to him, and of course he didn't get to keep them. He had to send them back. The kit makers don't want the kits back because they're already built, so I pack them away in little boxes and put them away and wait to see if there's any modifications or updates to them, and I do those and improve on them. A couple of them do make their way to the bench and actually get used on the air a bunch. I've been playing with the Pixie. I haven't made any contacts with the Pixie yet, but it does put out a really good RF signal, and I'm sure it's just a matter of time before I make a couple of CW contacts with it.
All right. Well, hey, Joe, chat room, let me jump here. Let's see. W0JP says, great show tonight. Another great kit company is Fox Delta out of India. Lots of ham kits, inexpensive and online support. I'm not familiar with Fox Delta in India.
I've heard of them, and what they do is they're the ones that came out with the BitX kit, the original BitX 20, which is a 10-watt, 20-meter single sideband transceiver with a VFO and everything. And ham equipment, of course, is almost unaffordable for a lot of people in India, and so their engineers there have come up with some pretty ingenious circuits. And in fact, QRPkits.com in this country sells the BidX kits here, but these are reproductions of the Indian version of the kits, but these are Americanized circuit boards. But it's just amazing that the kit sells for about $70 here, and of course they're even a lot less. And it's an affordable way these people get on the air and get on HF single sideband. One of the kits I'm working on now is the, I'm just getting started on it, is called the One Water, and it comes from kitsandparts.com. W8DIZ, we call him Diz, produces those, and he's in Florida. And you always get this tiny little 4-inch cube box in the mail, really tiny little box, and then there's a paper bag in there, and that's got all the parts. And I don't know if I can find it here, if I have it within reach. This is called the Pig Rig, and the Four States QRP Club came up with the front panel for it so that when you mounted it in a box, it looked like a real rig. And you can see the frequency display says 7120.0, and that's the Four-State QRP Club Hangout frequency. But in reality, of course, it's crystal controlled, so that's the only frequency it's on. The on-off control and volume control, and then there's a button up here that controls the menu for the built-in, believe it or not, controllable CW keyer. There's a paddle jack there. In the back, there's a speaker jack, an antenna jack, and then, of course, the 12-volt wire coming out of it. Kind of a nifty little radio, and I've made a couple contacts with that one, and a lot of fun. It puts out about 4 or 5 watts, surprisingly. 5 watts is what we in QRP call a full gallon.
Oh, yeah.
But,
that's high power QRP.
That's right. So a 5-watt QRP radio is considered a QRP gallon. But that's really all the kits I have tonight. I know there's a lot of questions.
Yeah, we've got Jeff N3VE in here says, is this a rerun of an older show? No, we're live tonight, Jeff. We're live, and we're seeing some new kits.
Yeah, I've shown some of the other ones in previous shows, but just using them as an example this time of different sources of kits. Like I said, they don't all have to come from China. Kitsandparts.com always has a good variety of kits. Like I said, I'm now building his One Water. W1REX, if you go to QRPME.com, QRPME, just think of like QRP Maine, because that's where he's from, QRPME.com. He has the reproductions of the original tuna tins, and he has his improvements on those. He has probably more kits on a page than anybody, and pretty amazing ham radio kits. And he has taken over K1SWL's Rock Mic kit, and he sells the Rock Mic kit that does not have any surface mount parts in it and fits in an Altoids tin, and I have a couple of those, and they are, once again, crystal controlled CW transceivers, but they have a button on it like the Pig Rig. But in this case, one of the functions of that button is it's a frequency offset, so you can shift it about 800 hertz. So if the one frequency seems busy, you can move about 800 hertz off, and on CW, that's plenty.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, you got more kits here?
No, right now, that's about all I have.
Is that about all? You know what we can do now? We can.
All that I've got within reach of me.
Okay.
And at each show, of course, I won't be on for a whole hour. I'll show one particular kit, like a Rock Mic, and go over what it does, and be able to answer any questions. Excuse me.
Yeah, what we'll plan on doing is to every other week when you're on with us, we will show any new kits that you've come up with, and we can discuss the kits that we've already talked about. Now let's see if anybody in the chat room. I've been trying to read it there. Jill has done a good job getting all the links out, it looks like. Let's see. They want to know who made the diode perimeter clock kit, the one with all the
That's another
LEDs.
one from the same place. Banggood.com is where that comes from. I don't know who the actual Chinese maker of this kit is. And it's an alarm clock, too. It has a beeper on it and all sorts of stuff. But I do not know the manufacturer of this particular kit. Banggood is just basically a consolidator and retailer for these things. But this clock kit is about $12, and it's pretty amazing for that. Now, of course, the Bluetooth option and stuff is more. And like I said, it's got a lot of surface mount parts. Now, I'm going to be doing what we call the solder paste method with this one, because there are so many parts in close proximity. And what that is I've got a syringe, and I forgot to bring that close up, but it's basically a medical syringe with a straight tip on it, not a sharp needle. And we squirt little dabs of this gray solder paste onto the pads on this board. And then we take tweezers and we put the part down where it belongs on those pads. And that stuff is kind of like a paste, but it's loose. And we get all the parts in one area together, and then I expose it to heat. There's two ways to do that. You can use a toaster oven, set it to about 380 degrees or so. And you put the board in on a tray and you heat it up, and then you'll see that the solder changes color from a gray paste to silvery. At that point, you turn the heat off, and you'll notice that when it becomes silvery, if the part's just slightly crooked, sometimes they straighten out. That's because of the surface tension on the liquid solder. You let it cool off gradually until it's nice and solid, then you bring the board out, and you have a very professionally made surface mount board. Now, you can get for $20 at Hobby Lobby, there's an embossing tool that kind of like a heat gun. Whatever you do, don't use a heat gun you got at the hardware store, because your parts will end up in the next county. And we got big counties here in Nebraska. So what you're going to do is you use that heat embossing tool that they sell for embossing, scrapbooking stuff. It's for heating up ink and so forth. And it's also good for your heat shrink wrap and things like that. And I hold it about 3 or 4 inches above the board and let the heat gradually blow on it without very much wind force. And after a while, you'll see that it changes color from gray to silver, and the parts just kind of straighten up and they look real good. And I lift the tool away and let it sit for about 3 or 4 minutes to make sure that nothing comes loose. And then you have a beautiful looking surface mount board. And for those that wonder, well, how do they make that electronics that's in your cell phones or TVs, all the consumer electronics? Well, that's basically the method. They have a machine that just sprays all the dots at once, like an inkjet printer, with solder paste, and then another machine that has these automated tweezers that sets all the parts down on the board, and then it runs on a conveyor through an oven, and it's exposed to the heat for a certain amount of time. It melts the solder, cools it down gradually, puts it out the other side, and you have a working circuit board. So we're kind of doing the same thing, but doing it yourself.
So here's a question from WB0OKM. Do you know anything about the Chinese version of the small Wonder Labs SW20 transceiver kit?
No, I've seen people talking about it. I have not seen where it's available, and I have not looked at it. That's one of the things that they've been doing is they've taken kits that are no longer available in this country, and they've basically copied the designs and putting out kits again. And I find that interesting. The original maker doesn't make them anymore, so a lot of times they don't care what happens to that design unless they've sold it to somebody. And so if they haven't, then it's really kind of public domain, and that's how these things have gotten out. They've just looked it up. The interesting thing about hams in China and why so many innovative, neat little things have come out, like these kits that I'm showing tonight, is because they have not really had ham radio like we have for the decades that we have. Ham radio just came on in China, 25 years ago or so, when they had BY1PK? And that was kind of the only signal from China for many years. I think that was for about 30 years ago when they first came on. And then pretty soon you started having more club stations on, and then individuals started getting licenses, and now it's a fast growing hobby. Well, what's different is that the hams there are much younger than the hams here. These are guys in their 20s and 30s who are innovators and engineers, and they're coming out with all sorts of low cost kits for hams. So it's a very interesting phenomenon that we're seeing, and so I think we're going to see lots more affordable kits.
Let me talk about soldering here. You were talking about it earlier and how you use the heat, the toaster and the air heat to put the parts on. Uh, as we get older, our eyes get bad, and I have to use a magnifier now especially when I look at these small surface mount parts. But I'll tell you, many years ago, the surface mount stuff was coming out. We were building some of these little microwave TV receivers. You may know what I was talking about. They were up in the, I don't know, 1.2 gig or something like that. Anyway, there was we were probably some adults who were probably in our 30s. And we had a ham friend, a little 16-year-old guy, he was building one. And we would using very small soldering irons. We had this surface mount parts and small things, and we were having trouble, man, making these things and tuning them. And this kid, he was building the surface mount stuff. He had one of these big soldering irons like you would solder a gutter on a house with, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It weighed about 5 pounds, and the tip was about as big as your thumb. And he was putting that surface mount stuff together with that soldering iron, and guess what? His worked.
Well, I don't think I'd attempt that because it'd probably get things a little too hot. But I think on one of my shows I'm going to do a tool time. Will kind of be like Tim Allen many years ago, and we'll do a little tool time thing, and we'll show off different types of soldering irons and different types of solder, and talk about what they're used for and what kind of cutters you want to have when you're clipping your leads on the circuit boards and so forth. I think that'll be a subject for at least a couple of shows, don't you?
Oh, I think that would be some great topics there for you to talk about, Joe. So I think we've covered most of the kits tonight. Is that right?
Yep, that we have.
And we'll stick around here. We'll stick around for just a couple minutes and see what other questions might come in on the chat room here. And I think it's been a very interesting show. I've been watching the chat room, and there's been a lot of good comments in there about the show, and it's great, and they liked it. And you were putting out so much information there so fast that I think they were having information overload. So they're wanting us to list these links everywhere, and we'll try to do that.
I run into that when I give a presentation at a Hamfest. So I try to have the links on my slides in PowerPoint.
Oh, yeah. So what our plan is, Joe has agreed to join our staff, and we offered him some pay that most people could not resist. So we bought Joe in here. Now, Joe, please don't ask for a raise, probably at least for a year, okay?
I won't, but of course, if I get to Memphis, you owe me a good steak dinner, all right?
I can do that for sure. So here's what's going to happen, guys. Hopefully Joe will be with us. The schedule is going to try to bring him in every other week.
If we can,
if he's available, and we'll talk about kit building and so forth. Now, and then Joe also is going to have a different segment. He's going to be our rover guy that goes to Hamfest. He's going to take Hamfest pictures, and he's going to give us reports on what went on in places. Now, the next, I know in the fall and winter you don't go to too many Hamfests, but you go to a lot. What's the next Hamfest you're going to, Joe?
That's a good question. There's one on, not this, well, I was hoping to go to one in Peoria, Illinois this next weekend, but I have to go to a wedding in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, so I'm not going to make that one. There's a small one in Sioux City, Iowa, which is the weekend after. And then the weekend following that, there's one in West Liberty, Iowa, which is east of Iowa City. So I'll go with my friends from Cedar Rapids, who are Collins engineers, and we'll take in the one in West Liberty, Iowa. That will be, I think, October 4th. and then I kind of have a gap there because I've turned down several in Kansas City and other places in the rest of October because I have to go into the hospital and get a belly button fixed. So my reset button's going to go away.
Now,
And then
Trevor, you're not getting what do you call it, like a belly button ring or anything, are you?
Nope. It's a hernia, so
Oh, okay.
we have to get it fixed.
I got you.
And so I'll kind of be out of circulation for a week or two, and then back at it in November. I think it's the first or second weekend in November. I'll be doing one in. I think it's the first weekend in November. I'll be doing one in Kansas City. I'll be doing a kit building talk. Now, one of the things I like to bring up is that I offer group kit building experiences for your clubs. And if you bring me there, we can do a thing like a Saturday afternoon where everybody builds the same kit all at once. And I have a whole list and variety of kits that we can put together. And there's like a direction finding kit. We did that one in Dayton for DARA last year in September. And they ended up with a kit that they could go direction finding with. In fact, that was the kit I used in the ARRL video, the DIY Magic of Amateur Radio, which was filmed in Escondido, California. I did a group kit build for the Escondido Club where they actually built a direction finding kit and then went out in the yard and went fox hunting. And so now they have tools that they can use after the kit build. That kit's around $30. We can do the Pixies, so everybody can make their own little CW transceiver. Those can be put together in an hour or so. But what we do is we find out how many people are building it, and then I order the kits, and then I bring all the stuff with me, and everybody brings their own cookie sheets and soldering irons and stuff, and we sit around a group of tables and we build kits together. And it's a great hands-on learning experience and a great way for people to learn kit building. And the cost of the kit nowadays can vary, like I said, but a lot of these kits are $4 to $12 or $18 or whatever you want to spend, and you end up with something very worthwhile when you're done. Like I said, the component testers are $12 or $18. What a neat thing you could come home with after spending a couple hours with your club. And it's neat to have people doing it together because people help each other. I usually try to have a couple of helpers with me so that I'm not overloaded. And then I walk around from table to table and circulate around and make sure everybody's getting it right. And I show people little tricks and hints, different ways to solder to make it look a lot better and have more chances of working, because when you have a first time or a rare kit builder who does not have any success with their first kit, they're not going to build anymore. They're not going to buy any more kits. So we want to make sure that they build something that works. So they go home with something that works. That way they go out and they buy more kits. They buy more kits. Guess what? Kit makers are going to make more kits, and we're going to have more fun to have in ham radio.
All right, great. Hey, here's a question from let's see, from Pat N5 VMO. He wants to know about the mods. What mods to do digital modes on the 20-meter kits? Have you done any mods to put them on the digital modes?
Okay, the BitX kits, I have not. I have not tried to put those on the digital modes, so I really don't know.
Yeah, let me just say this again because we may have new people that came in. Probably it's going to be October, so that's less than a month away. Glenn Popel will be here, and he's going to talk about these specific little transceivers like Joe showed you tonight. And he has built up one using the Arduino DDS. Is it DDS? I think that's the VFO. Very stable
I think he
VFO.
uses the not this particular kit, but one that's similar to it. He uses the Frog Sounds
That's
kit.
right. He uses one that's just a little bit more power, maybe a couple, 2 or 3 watts.
It's more powerful and it has more of a frequency range.
So what he did, he took the crystal out, modified that circuit a little bit, put the Arduino VFO on there. He built
the DDS.
The DDS. He built in PSK into the same box, And I think he's got some other things there. In fact, I believe that he took that to Dayton this year, and that was a winner in Best in Show.
Yeah,
and,
that was the 4 days in May best kit.
Yeah,
best
and he'll be showing
function.
that. He'll be showing that, and he can answer questions about the digital piece there. Hey, Joe, we've got Jeff N3. Let's see, N3. I forget it's called VE. He's offered to buy you and me dinner in Dayton next year, so we need to write that down.
That sounds
good.
At
LEL. I don't know where that is. It sounds like I don't know. I'm not sure what kind of food that is.
We'll have to see.
Yeah. Let's see.
But like I said, if your clubs are interested, talk to your club boards and stuff for a meeting or for a ham fest. Sometimes we can do it in conjunction with a ham fest weekend where, like, let's say the ham fest is on Sunday, we can do the kit build on Saturday, or we could do the kit build on Friday night and the ham fest on Saturday where I put on a kit building talk. We can do any kind of combination of those. So you might pass that on to your convention planners and so forth. And keep in mind, I'm right in the middle of the country.
All right. Well, great. And Joe,
and by the way, anybody needs Nebraska, different bands or modes, they can always email me at the QRZ address, and I can see what I can do. A lot of people end up needing Nebraska for one reason or another for different awards.
You know, Joe, one of the things I'd like to do, I'd like to get an HFNet going some night after the show. And if I can't get anybody that has time to call it, but that would give people opportunity to talk to other people that they've met here in the chat room and give an opportunity to work you. And I'll even get in there and work some of these guys. I'm just not a very good net control specialist myself, but if we got anybody out there that would like to do a net or multiple nets, maybe we could do a 40 meter and a 20 meter net or an 80 meter net. You know, you guys could run the net, and we would try to participate. So let me know if we've got any takers out there.
This time of night would be 40 or 80 would be the ones.
Right. All right. Well, Joe, thank you for sharing all your kit building information. Man, it has been really some good stuff, I think.
Well, Tom, I have been friends with you since your first broadcast from the flea market, and it's always a pleasure to be on with you.
Well, that goes way back to the olden days. That's back when we had to bear the floods, snow, sleet, tornadoes, windstorms, all that stuff, Joe. You know, we moved inside since then, and man, it's good to see you up there every year, and we see you at Huntsville, and we don't go to really any of the other ham fests. You need to come down to the Memphis Ham Fest sometime and see it. But you may be disappointed.
I'd like to. That's called the Free Fest, isn't it?
It's Free Fest, yeah.
And no, I have never been, and would like to. Right now, I'm don't put up the share yet. I'm digging through my photos, and I'm gonna see if I can find a fun one to close the night out.
Okay.
See if I can find one of you.
Oh no.
Let's see here. It's not working. Here we go. But I do have pictures of you that date back quite a long ways, and it's a lot of fun.
I'd be ashamed to see some of those pictures. They were pretty bad. Because, when you were outside, you were in survival mode that whole weekend.
Yeah, because it was really either blistering hot or cold or raining or something out there, and so it wasn't so easy for you out there. And I'm really glad that they've seen the light and brought you inside, because you have so many participants in the broadcast that it's really worthwhile. And I'm not finding it right now, but I'm sure what I'll do is I'll make a folder and I'll show you over the years, all the way from way back when. And
all right, well, that might be something fun to do, Joe. One night when you have time, get a history, get a photo history of us together.
Yeah, it'll be when I do one of the nights where I talk about Hamfest instead of kits.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good. Well, Joe, we're going to let you go, and I'm going to get ready to switch over to the Hangout mode. which means that we're going to let other people on the webcast join this webcast. Their video and audio will be live on the show, and we can take up to 10 people at one time. So this is going to be cool. Let's see if we can get anybody to join us tonight. So what I need to do is I need to provide the link for people out there. Oh, Kathy did it? Okay, yeah. Kathy just sent the link out. So if you guys will click on that link, you can join us on Hangout. And don't go away, everybody. You're going to be on the show if you can come in through the Hangout link right there. So, Joe, I'll say 73 to you. I don't know if you want to join Hangout after a while or not, but you're welcome to join us.
I will see if I can make that work.
If you want to. And do you see the link that Kathy just posted?
I don't, but I will find it.
Okay. Just what? Oh, if you come to the chat room, Joe, it's at the top of the chat room in the topic. It's listed in the topic at the top of the chat room.
All right, I will do that.
Okay, 73 Joe, and we'll see you later. Thank you so much for everything you did tonight.
You bet.
Okay, so that was I think a very good presentation by Joe Eisenberg, K0NEB, from Lincoln, Nebraska. So let's see, let me just check the chat room really quick here, see what's going on. Anybody got any questions for us? I'm going to go ahead and try to get on Hangout and join you guys. So we'll be back. Don't go away. Everybody just hang in there, and we will return in just a couple minutes.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
All right, I think we're back. Let me see if I can get on Hangout here. Oh, I see somebody. I kind of knew he would be here tonight. Jeffrey's on here. We talked a lot about Jeffrey tonight. Hey, thanks for the dinner offer. And your camera's not working. Your camera's out again.
Figure this out.
Yeah, I'm seeing your share screen.
Okay, we have no echo again tonight, right?
We have what?
Do we have an echo?
I don't really hear it.
Okay, good.
So I see Joe is in, join us and hang out. Jeffrey, you're in there. Jeffrey, right. I'm glad you're in there. I want to get the details on exactly where we're going to eat in Dayton.
I stay at the Drury Inn with near where the Icon guys stay, and Gordo West is always there. So anywhere near there.
I didn't realize what I did, but when I switched back to the studio here, the audience started applauding. I did not realize that was on. That was not intentional. But I guess they liked the show enough that they gave us some applause here. So cool.
So that's me.
Okay, well, look, let me go over to Joe while you start playing with your camera. No, I see your camera on the small picture.
Yeah, well, that's like, all right. Maybe I can fix something here.
Yeah, maybe you can make it bigger or something.
I can't figure this thing out for that. Save my life.
Still on.
All right. Well, that's that camera.
Is there a way to make that larger? Maybe a Control Plus about 1 million times.
Yeah. Well, that might work, but
try and see. I like your setup, man. I like your flex setup you got there. It's and the way you got the dark light and everything. It's beautiful there, man. I've always told you I love that shack. Wait, hey, Joe, let me call Joe. Here's Joe.
All right. Let's see if you've got audio from me.
Yeah, we do.
All right. Well, I'm back here. I think Skype seems to work better than this, but we're in.
Yeah. Well, hey, Jeffrey's in here and you're in here. Come on, guys. We need some more participants in here to join us. We'll put you. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? People aren't seeing you guys because I haven't switched the camera. I got to switch the camera. There we go. All right, now, Joe, I've got to.
Why isn't this?
I've got to adjust you down a little bit. There we go. And there we go. Maybe that'll work a little better.
I can show you that.
There we go. Now, so we've got Joe on. Okay, and then we've got Jeffrey on. Look, I can see his flex. There's Jeffrey's flex. I need to adjust the picture there just a little bit.
Can't figure out why I can't get my camera up. Oh, this, Tom, this bothers the hell out of me.
I know it, man. Your camera doesn't.
Oh wow, I see the flex.
All right, I'm going to shut the camera off for a second.
I'm trying to adjust my camera feed. I don't know. I got you guys crooked, but that's the best I can do right now. I'll figure it out later. But hey, I love the color and the darkness and the blues and that flex, man. Look at that. Look at that waterfall there. Cool.
Get on the air somewhere. I'll tune you in.
Well, I wish I could, but then I wouldn't be on the show.
Oh, that's
so,
true.
Hey, Joe, when are you and me going to get a flex?
No, I don't know. The only thing I've used on HF that's SDR is my KX3. I've played a little bit with it, and I've been using that kit I was showing the last time I was on, the Hayseed Hamfest Ranverter Pi, which works with the Raspberry Pi, and it has the HF up converter, so I've been able to listen to HF with the SDR, and it's a lot of fun. I also have a German kit that I brought back from Friedrichshafen. This one here, the Fifi SDR, and this one has switchable filters in it by software, so it's a lot better than the USB stick ones, and I've had a lot of fun with that on HF as well. But it's just a receiver.
Yeah, I'm trying. I've got you guys' picture kind of slanted. I'm trying to figure out how to straighten it out, man. I don't know, man. Well, anyway, we'll go with that. I'll have to figure it out later. All right, so Jeff is.
I'm still stuck.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to pack up one of my cameras and send it down to you, Jeff.
Oh, this is a good camera. It's a Logitech something 920. It's got the Carl Zeiss lens and all that. It's just for some reason webcam 7 is not coming up. The problem is I got 4 monitors. You got you can't see. So shoot, I can't show you. Bear with me.
Hey Ron, I don't think the camera's tilted. I think I've got the screen tilted. I have the capability with this encoder program to tilt the screen tilt the video back and forth and at angles, and I'm not hitting the right button here, but it's not too bad. It's pretty good here. Well, Jeffrey, I know it's a good camera, but
yeah, well,
when it don't work, I don't know how good it is when it don't work.
No offense taken. I don't get it. I mean, I can share screen 1, which is that, so you can see part of it.
Let's see. Here we go. Yeah, I got you there. We're gonna have to get the picture bigger though.
Well, yeah. So that's my desktop, and then I got. Where's the other screens? Present to everyone. For some reason, the actual camera screen's not showing. The full screen version is not showing up.
So let me ask you a question. Go back to your Hangout. Go back to your regular. Well, you don't have something like stupid like the camera turned off at the top, right? I mean, it's on, right?
No, I mean the camera's on. I mean, that's working.
Yeah, but that's on in the camera program, not in Hangout. I mean, I was asking on the Hangout tools at the top of Hangout. Is the camera turned off?
Let's chat. Then I go up here to sharing.
No, you don't want to do a share. You don't want to do share.
That's generally how I have to do it because, like, I can share that, and then usually my camera shows up on this webcam 7, where that doesn't show. It's not showing up.
Go off sharing and go back to the normal page where
Let me go.
And then at the top of Google, at the top of Hangout, you got a mic up there with a line through it and a camera with a line through it.
Oh, yeah, there's a line through it.
And also you got the little tool up there, the little settings. You might click on that settings and see if the camera is selected, if the right camera, because if you got multiple cameras. I see your face now, but I see your profile picture.
Right. Why is it? Yeah, I mean, my camera's there, but it doesn't show my face. It's very odd. I can click Mannycam, but I wonder if I can go with open Mannycam. And
you may be able to, because I see Mannycam here. Start Mannycam up.
Yeah, I'm gonna start that right now.
All right.
I don't need to upgrade.
I see snow. I like you. It has no input.
Your
assignment for next Tuesday is going to be to fix your camera and test it before the show.
Yeah, but I can't test it unless I'm in a Hangout.
Well, we'll set you. We'll have a Hangout.
All right, can't start session. Video.
All right.
Right click on this. Come on, right click. Where's? Wow, come on! Are you kidding me?
All right. So what are you working on, Joe? You're awful quiet there.
Oh, I was just answering some questions that are being sent direct to me. And some real good ones. And by the way, the plaque that you see, like I said, the Christmas tree looking one, that's for putting on the FM radio for the Christmas lights, and the one above that is for helping out with an event called the Cornhusker State Games, and that's a kind of like a state Olympic type festival that we have here every year, and it's been going on for like 31 years, I think.
Well, I'm looking at that. I see something back here that says Lincoln Lights, and it looks like it's green. Yeah. I can't make a Christmas tree out of that.
But that's what that is. Lincoln Lights was when the Boy Scouts for about 8 years had a fundraiser that they had fancy Christmas lights in the park. And so they would charge like $5 a car to go through. And instead of having speakers blurring birds out, I created a wireless system in the FM band. And so there was a sign that said tuned to 94.5 FM when you entered the park, and you could hear it throughout the park, which was quite an accomplishment considering that park is almost a mile wide.
Oh, wow.